It's time for NCW Life News on the NCW Life channel. The latest from the Wenatchee Valley and North Central Washington with Steve Hare, Grant Olson, and sports with Eric Granstrom.
Good evening and welcome to NCW Life News. I'm Grant Olson. Before we get to today's top stories, let's take a quick look outside at our weather window. And yes, once again, the valley inundated with smoke. Unhealthy was our air around the Wenatchee Valley today, and we will continue that way for the next few days. Also now under a heat advisory. More on that a little bit later on in our weather forecast. And now a few of the stories we're following for you tonight. An update on the fires in British Columbia that have filled our valley with smoke. The grand opening for Hale Park approaches. The Community Foundation awards a record amount of scholarships, and we'll have a report on the Lake Wenatchee Timber Harvest meeting from over the weekend. Later on, we'll have sports, your weather forecast, and our feature story today. But first, the Wenatchee Police Department issued a press release earlier today regarding the July 27th fatal shooting of 31-year-old Matthew Folden outside the Wenatchee Albertsons grocery store, and the officer involved in the shooting has now been identified. He is Albert Gonzalez, a 2-year veteran of the Wenatchee Police Department with 4 total years of experience in Washington law enforcement. Wenatchee Police Department Captain Edgar Reinfeld says Officer Gonzalez remains on administrative leave until the investigation is completed.
He's still on administrative leave. That will last for a somewhat unknown period. It varies a lot. This is the criminal investigation phase. Once we have all the reports together, we as a department can make a determination about return to duty. There's a couple of other return to duty things that have to be cleared hurdle-wise, and then he can return to work. Obviously, in a national level, we hear all this beef right now. You let these guys come right back to work, whatever else. It's not an immediate return to work in all cases. I mean, if there was determined to be something that needed further looking at, he's going to stay on administrative leave till it's done with the looking at. But the intent is we're preparing to return him to work as soon as possible, and when that is possible and when it's all been examined, he'll be able to do so.
Reinfeld says around 10 to 20 witnesses have been interviewed so far, and new information surrounding the shooting is being gained daily. He says playing the waiting game regarding the exact events of July 27th is frustrating for not only the general public, but law enforcement as well. He also adds that the investigation is time-consuming because the Special Investigation Unit wants the exact truth to come out.
I think the difficult thing for people is having patience and watching it unfold. It's difficult for us as well. We have an officer that we parked on administrative leave who's in this status where he's stuck waiting a potential return to work or whatever may come down out of an investigation. And it is difficult for people to wait for the information to come out because the flow seems very slow. But for us, until we've completely verified something, we're not going to push it out there. We only want to put facts out there, so we're not continuously turning around trying to say, well, we learned something new and it changed, and we learned something new and it changed. It looks disingenuous. It breaks down trust, and it's not the right thing to do. So sometimes it takes a little bit of time, but in the end, everyone will see everything we have.
And a program note, Captain Edgar Reinfeld will join host Dan Kuntz and news director Steve Hare tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock on Wake Up Wenatchee Valley to further discuss the police investigation. We saw another day of poor air quality in north central Washington. Indeed, the entire state of Washington is affected by epic wildfires that continue to plague British Columbia. While we have to deal with the thick smoke, north of the border is a scene of devastation. There are currently 138 active wildfires in the province, and they've combined to blacken 939,000 acres since being ignited by lightning storms on July 7th. As of Wednesday, 6,000 people were still unable to return to their residences due to a fire threat. The largest blaze measures over 333,500 acres. Hundreds of homes have also been torched. Well, the smoke-filled air around our area is affecting just about all of us in one way or another. Wildfire smoke can irritate eyes, nose, throat, and lungs. Inhaling smoke can be especially harmful to those suffering from asthma, lung disease, or heart disease. Carol McCormick, Personal Health Associate Administrator with Chelan Douglas Health, says children and the elderly have to be especially careful as well.
We are very concerned about young children and the elderly and people who have lung and heart problems, because this will increase any of the issues that people who are having health problems have. And for little children, they are, of course, breathing at a much higher rate than an adult. So they're taking in more particulate matter into their lungs. So the health effects are worse for little children. And then, of course, the elderly are often compromised. So we're worried about them the most.
Health officials say those that have to be outdoors should wear a special mask called a particulate respirator to protect lungs from wildfire smoke. Here is a list of locations around our area that are supplying particulate respirator masks, and they include 5 Chelan County Fire District stations and city halls in Eniat and Cashmere. Officials also recommend using masks with 2 straps instead of 1-strap paper masks or surgical masks to better protect lungs from smoke. Well, the first city-owned off-leash dog park is set to open later this month. We talked to Wenatchee Park's Dave Erickson to get an update on the work being done at Hale Park.
So Hale Park is getting close to completion. The contractors are down there. I was just at the site a few minutes ago, and they are spreading the topsoil for the grass area, the picnic area on the north end of the park. The fence contractors are down working on the south end of the park, installing the fence. So we're getting very close. They're hoping to have all the fence and the topsoil and grass seeding done by the end of this week. Then we'll have our final walkthrough with the contractor early next week, and then put the finishing touches on everything. Hopefully it'll all be done. So we'll be hanging up signs and benches and all that other good stuff. The official opening of the off-leash area, we're going to have a grand opening ceremony on August 15th at 6 o'clock at the park. And so everybody's encouraged to come on down. That'll be the first opening of that portion of the park. The grass area, the north area, that'll take some time for the grass to grow in. So where the park will be open, it really won't be usable probably till the fall for the grass.
Erickson added that if possible, residents should carpool to the grand opening because there is limited parking on site. Coming up, the Community Foundation awards a record amount of scholarships. We'll have a report on the Lake Wenatchee Timber Harvest meeting from over the weekend, and a groundbreaking is set on the new Hilton Hotel next to Pybus Market. I'm Grant Olson, and you're watching NCW Life News.
Get the fastest internet available in North Central Washington by switching to LocalTel and get speeds up to 1,000 meg. Call 888-8888 today or go online to localtel.net.
At a meeting this past Saturday at the Lake Wenatchee Rec Club, area residents had the opportunity to ask questions and listen to presentations regarding planned timber harvest and future Forest Service projects in the area. Chelan County Commissioner Keith Gaynor attended the meeting and says residents were generally receptive to the plan, but naturally had concerns.
There's the initial concern of just the visual impact. There's also concern about potential for avalanche or erosion. And DNR, specifically showed on the map exactly the areas, the chutes that could be a potential for that. And Weyerhaeuser has chosen and has agreed not to harvest timber in those areas. So the stability of the land was in question. That has been, an assessment has been done, and there really doesn't appear to be a concern over. There's always going to be a concern at anywhere, and the concerns were brought up. Well, what about Oso? It had geological assessments done there also, and they said, well, this is really, it's a different landscape. It's a different formation under the surface, and I said it really doesn't lend itself to that at all. So, as I said, they will be leaving more trees on the ground than they would necessarily have to, but I think they're very sensitive to the impact to the area. But the bottom line is not only will they be able to harvest their timber, but they will be enhancing the forest health by creating that open space.
Forest Service projects and the upcoming Lake Wenatchee pilot project are planned in the Lake Wenatchee, Big Meadow, Beaver, and Lower Chihuahua areas. Groundbreaking for a new luxury 176-room hotel is set for Friday in Wenatchee. The Hilton Garden Inn is set to begin construction immediately on the 3-acre vacant property along Wenatchee's Riverside Drive on the north side of Pybus Market. Wenatchee City Public Works previously owned the land. City of Wenatchee Community Development Manager Steve King says the new Hilton Hotel was both a want and a need.
Our hotel vacancy rate's been down, our costs are up, and so lodging's a big deal, and so to have it here in downtown connected to the convention center via the bridge and right next to the Pybus Market is just perfect. It's what the city envisioned many years ago when we vacated down here, and now it's coming to fruition.
The groundbreaking ceremony is tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. on the property north of Pybus Market at 25 North Worthen Street. The Community Foundation of North Central Washington has awarded over $542,800 in scholarships to 152 students across North Central Washington. This is the largest scholarship award total dispersed from the foundation to date. The foundation manages 97 scholarship funds to help students ease the financial burden of pursuing a college degree. A total of 1,472 applications were received and reviewed by selection committees comprised of over 237 community leaders. You're watching NCW Life News. Coming up next, Eric Granstrom has your sports update, followed by our feature story today. That and much more still to come on NCW Life News. Stay with us.
Are you wanting high-speed internet but don't have access to PUD fiber? Try Sky-Fi high-speed wireless internet from LocalTel. Call 888-8888 today. And now it's a sports update on the NCW Life channel.
And a good Thursday. Well, at first the series with Corvallis and Wenatchee was postponed due to smoke. Then it was moved to Yakima due to smoke. Now it's been moved to Corvallis, Oregon due to smoke. So the two teams will play a doubleheader in Corvallis today beginning at 6 o'clock. The third game will be made up, if necessary, next Monday at Paul Thomas. After today's doubleheader, the Apple Sox have 3 games at Bellingham. A decision will be made Sunday night if they'll need to make up the Corvallis game. That could be at Paul Thomas Field, also pending smoke. In the West Coast League play last night, the Apple Sox did get some help. Bellingham down victorious 6-2. Max Flowers' 2-run double, Chase Illig's RBI single, and Colin Ridley's sacked fly RBI gave the Bells a 4-run 9th inning to break a 2-2 tie to down the Harbor Cats. Port Angeles edged Gresham 9-8. Jordan Ackerman's solo homer in the top of the 11th was the difference as the two teams combined for 5 homers on the night. Kelowna got by Walla Walla 6-5. The Falcons walked off for the second consecutive night with Cade Hall's RBI single in the 13th inning. Yakima Valley beat up on Cowlitz 10-1. Mitch Ellis was 3 for 4 with a run and an RBI. And the Pippins pulled into a virtual tie for first with Corvallis in the South Division. North Division standings, Wenatchee, oh, you love to see them on top, 12-9. Victoria 14-11, basically a virtual first place tie. Well, things seem to be getting a little hot at Seahawks training camp today in Renton, and we're not just talking about the weather. Jeff Chambers shared this on Twitter today, a fight between defensive end Frank Clark and offensive lineman Jermaine Ifedi. When the dust was cleared, Clark was tossed out of practice and Ifedi was escorted to the locker room with blood coming from his mouth. The fight reportedly started when defensive tackle Rodney Coe and offensive lineman Will Parachak got into a scuffle during a pass rushing drill. Things escalated from there, and Clark punched Ifedi during the scrum that followed. Pete Carroll said after practice that there's no room for fighting in football, especially with your own team. Ariel Miranda surrendered 3 home runs, and the Texas Rangers salvaged the final game of the 3-game series with Seattle yesterday, winning 5-1. Robinson Cano's RBI single in the first scored Gene Segura to give Seattle a short-lived lead. Texas came right back in the bottom of the first to tie it on Delino DeShield's solo homer. The Rangers took the lead in the 4th on Adrian Beltre's sac fly. Joey Gallo homered in the 5th to make it 3-1. Elvis Andrus' 2-run shot in the 6th would cap the scoring to give the Rangers the win. Mariners manager Scott Servais says Miranda needs to work on his placement.
Certainly wasn't the way we wanted to end the series here. We played really good the last couple nights, but home runs hurt us tonight, and we just couldn't get much going offensively. We had some guys on there earlier in the game and couldn't get the big hit when we were in a scoring position to keep the line moving and put a big inning up there. So we were in the game most of the night, just like I said, just to get the big hit when we needed to get back into the game. But Home runs have hurt us a little bit this year. I think we lead the league in giving them up. Unfortunately, they got a couple tonight. And Miranda's stuff was actually okay. He's made a couple mistakes, and they weren't base hits or doubles. They went over the fence.
Seattle moves on to Kansas City today to play the first of 4 games against the Royals. Service says the Mariners need to get a little payback.
They've been playing well. They've been through it. They've won. They've gotten deep in the playoffs and have won it all. So, be a good series. We're looking forward to it. I think that's kind of our motto all month is, bring it on. We're playing good ball. Not a great game tonight, but, over the last week or so, we played very well. So, it'll be a good series.
Seattle sends Yovani Gallardo to the mound to face the Royals' Trevor Cahill, first of 4 games. Also, the American League West on Wednesday. It was Tampa Bay downing Houston 3-0. The Angels got by the Philadelphia Phillies 7-0. San Francisco fell to Oakland 6-1. So the standings have Houston on top as usual, although they are on a little skid here. Seattle is, 15 games back at 55 and 54. The Mariners just a game and a half out of the wild card race. That's sports news. I'm Eric Grandstrom on the NCW Life Channel. Grant, back to you.
Thank you, Eric. Clothes for the Classroom is back. On August 19th, Serve Wenatchee Valley will host a gathering at the Saddle Rock Presbyterian Church to bring new school clothes for students throughout the valley as the new school year fast approaches. Retired Director Bob Shepard and newcomer Tom Nees stopped by Wake Up Wenatchee Valley with Dan Kuntz to talk more about the annual event.
Once again this year, we're looking forward to about 900 kids to show up for the event where they can get new socks, new shoes, new shirts, new jeans, haircuts, just a lot of things to get them ready for school. And, Dan, last year, it surprised us. Last year was the first time in 15 years that we had families come and spend the night in their car in order to be in line to be able to receive what they are. So that just really touched our hearts, that it meant that much. And the smiles are abounding, both with the kids and the parents. They're thrilled to death that they're able to get something like that, to get a good start with school.
Kids should start school with fresh clothes. I mean, it's for a self-esteem standpoint. It makes kids feel good, and a nice haircut and new clothes, and it's a great way to start the school year. Every kid should have new clothes, right?
Yeah, and I'm sure every parent understands that you get the list of school supplies that you have to provide for your children and all the other expenses on that it's wonderful to be able to have some of these items to be able to start. And yeah, it does bolster their self-esteem. That first day of school is always really important, what you wear.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you get the clothes? Where do they come from?
Well, we kind of do a standard issue so that we're able to buy all the shoes through Stan's. Shout out to Stan's, a great job there.
Yeah.
A lot of the tops and all the jeans through Children's Place over at the mall, another shout out there. Which really helps us as far as the inventory control, because we never know what kind of sizes we're going to have to address. Some years, all the small kids show up. Some years, all the larger kids show up. So when we run out of certain sizes, we're able to have them taken back and exchange it. And so that works out well. But we have people contributing money to purchase an outfit. We have churches doing rallies to come up with 2,000 socks. Individuals give us the tops to go with it. So that's where it all comes from. We've kind of, for a while now, this will be our 3rd year, we've foregone the used clothes aspect. That just wasn't materializing, a lot of work, little bang for the buck. So it's all brand new. So we do the purchasing, and as we all know, we live in a very generous community, and people just have really impressed us with how they've been able to sponsor this event.
And we'll be back in just a moment with the recap of today's stories and your complete local weather forecast right after this. Is your vehicle in need of a quick oil change or tune-up before hitting the road this summer? Stop by Quick Lube and Tune, the home of the good guys at 610 South Wenatchee Avenue. And now for a recap of our top stories. Earlier today, the Wenatchee Police Department issued a press release regarding the July 27th fatal shooting of 31-year-old Matthew Folden outside the Wenatchee Albertsons grocery store, and the officer involved in that shooting has now been identified. He is Albert Gonzalez, a 2-year veteran of the Wenatchee Police Department with 4 total years of experience in Washington law enforcement. Wenatchee Police Department Captain Edgar Reinfeld says Gonzalez remains on administrative leave until the investigation is completed. We experienced another day of poor air quality in north central Washington. Indeed, the entire state of Washington is affected by epic wildfires that continue to plague British Columbia. While we have to deal with the thick smoke, north of the border is a scene of devastation. There are currently 138 active wildfires in the province. They've combined to blacken 939,000 acres since being ignited by lightning storms on July 7th. As of Wednesday, 6,000 people were still unable to return to their residences due to fire threat. The largest blaze measures over 333,500 acres. Hundreds of homes have been torched. And now your weather forecast for north central Washington. And once again, a quick look out our weather window, and we are seeing lots of smoke. But I talked about at the top of the show, a heat advisory is now in place for our area, and that includes Moses Lake, Ephrata, Othello, Quincy, Wenatchee, Chelan, Eniat, Cashmere, Brewster, and Bridgeport, just to name a few cities. It runs from noon today through 8 o'clock tomorrow night. And of course, that air quality alert is still in place for almost all of eastern Washington. So the two combined, that'll make for a pretty interesting situation over the next few days. And we are seeing a lot of activity around the area as far as smoke and hot weather. I'll tell you what, the smoke though is keeping us from really reaching those triple-digit figures that we thought we'd see by the end of this week. It's keeping our temperatures mainly in the mid-90s to the upper 90s. Let's take a look at that forecast. And we are seeing hot temperatures that will continue. A low tonight will be about 75 degrees under clear skies, 100 tomorrow. Not quite as smoky, I'm thinking, for Friday, so we could see triple digits on Friday. 99 as we kick off our weekend on Saturday, 100 again then for Sunday and Monday, and we'll stay right in those triple digits for Tuesday and Wednesday with our lows in the lower to mid 70s. And finally tonight, efforts are being made to eventually reintroduce grizzly bears into the North Cascades. So check out our video of the day where a hiker runs into some big furry friends.
I'm walking backwards on the trail back to the camp. I'm walking down the trail and Mom and 2 cubs. So I am continually to walk backwards. And Mom and the cubs keep following me and are walking at least as fast as I am. And this is the first walk from camp that I've had since getting here. And what I don't want to do is, as I'm walking backwards, is stumble. So I will keep walking backwards. Oh, come on, guys, give me a break. Cubs just keep coming. Oh, come on. I'm hoping they go off the trail at some point. Or somebody else comes along from camp. This is Mom and the 2 cubs now. This is by the campsite. This is, they're at the water's edge.
And if you have a video of the day you'd like to see on NCW Life News, message us on our Facebook page at the NCW Life channel. And that's going to do it for our newscast tonight. For more on these stories and other news from around north central Washington, you can find us on Facebook or our website at ncwlife.com. And remember, if you see news happening, we'd like to hear from you. You can send us an email at news@ncwlife.com or give us a call at 888-6295. I'm Grant Olson. Thanks for joining us and have a great night.
This has been NCW Life News on the NCW Life channel. For more news, log on to ncwlife.com, like us on Facebook, and follow NCW Life Channel on Twitter.
Have a fun video you'd like to see featured on NCW Life? Email us at newsphotos@ncwlife.com.